April 15th, 2019. It is Masters Monday, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow at Teddy_Covers on Twitter. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. As we said, Teddy, Monday after the Masters, me and you appeared on Friday, and we were best friends saying, ain't no way Tiger Woods is going to win this tournament. And look what happened. Bettors pulled down millions of dollars in this, a bloodbath for the books. And Teddy, one of my most favorite things here moving forward is golf is now viable because of betting. Look at it all, Teddy. It's right here for us.
Exactly. And hey, let's start with me and you. I'll do it. I'm going to eat a big bowl of crow on this one. I came out like 5 years ago saying Tiger's never win. He'll never win another major. Oops. Obviously, this past weekend, neither you or I or any bookmaker that we were in contact with expected what we saw. And you see the quotes coming out of the books. They got crushed. I mean, crushed. Nick Bodanovich from William Hill, who paid out over $1 million on one bet for Tiger Woods. Quote, "It's great to see Tiger back. It's a painful day for William Hill, our biggest loss ever, but a great day for golf." You know, Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate Superbook, quote, "I thought he had a chance to be competitive, but I'm a little surprised by him winning, especially with the competition he faced." I said before the tournament, if you took the Tiger Woods off, you'd have a golfer with the stats of someone at 25-1 odds. Obviously, he went off at less than that, but we saw all kinds of books get bashed yesterday. You know, look at BetStars, who were talking at 100-1 on Tiger, and well, $10 we'll let you bet on that. They took a beating on that. FanDuel paying out more than $2 million in winnings from their Mega Eagle contest. I mean, bookmakers around the country got absolutely annihilated with Tiger's win yesterday. Nobody expected it. Not the bookmakers, not the pundits, the betting public. Hey, you guys got this one right.
Yeah, I've been on doing sportsbook review shows for years, as you have also, Teddy, and I've been a constant proponent of betting with Tiger Woods. I had a nice little run, but look, it's fun. I'm huge in the moments of sports, Teddy, same way you are. I like to tune in, even if I don't really like the sport, but if it's a championship moment, it's a lot of fun to watch. And also, let's not forget on Sunday, this wasn't handed to Tiger Woods, Teddy. Never coming from behind in a major tournament to grab the win, comes in behind, and he was down as many as 3 shots, and then you saw heading to the 12th hole. The minute Molinari went into the water on that par 3, you knew it was on and popping the rest of the back 9. And you're right. This was a leaderboard, Teddy. This wasn't, mix and match, some ham and eggers out there. These were the best in the world going toe-to-toe on the best golf course. And I really enjoyed myself yesterday. I really did.
And let's give credit where credit's due. Look, I was wrong. Everybody was wrong. Here's a quote from Matthew Primo, the senior vice president of operations for BetStars, who the ones that gave out, that $10 at 100-1 on Tiger. His quote, "I believe my direct quote was, 'Guys, there's no way Tiger is winning this tournament.'" Whoops. Big whoops for them. Big whoops for us. And again, kudos to those of you who were ignored, didn't listen to me, didn't listen to Donnie, and got a bet down on Tiger at some attractive odds. Obviously, yesterday he showed why at one point he was the best golfer in the world.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really good, compelling TV yesterday. The one thing, Teddy, if you were an over better yesterday in the NBA, and from that fact of the matter, on Saturday or Sunday, sit back like, hey, man, I like some scores. NBA's been up all year. Let me go ahead and throw down the gauntlet. Let's just take some overs on Saturday and Sunday. Didn't work out too well, Teddy. Each and every game stays under the total.
Yeah. I mean, 8-0 to the under in game ones of the NBA playoffs. And we talked about this concept last week when we were previewing the round one series, the round one series, saying this has been the highest scoring regular season in modern NBA history. Let's see how that translates to the playoffs. Well, it translated to the playoffs with an 8-0 run to the under, and most of them weren't even close. There was the last game of the night, last night, Utah and Houston stayed under by a hook. Brutal if you had the over in that ball game. Everything else, I mean, they were steady unders. And of course, you have the Celtics Pacers that stayed under by more than 50. If you average them all together, you say, all right, the game stayed under by more than 16 points per game in game one of round one. You take out that Celtics Pacers game, say, all right, well, that one was just the one. No, they still stayed under by 11 points a game, even taking Celtics Pacers out of the equation. Under bettors with a glorious weekend in the NBA. Over bettors, not so happy on Monday morning.
Teddy, I have a question for you in the NBA, because when we take a look at numbers, and the numbers are going to be what they are, but through the NBA season, obviously, when I talk about back in the day, I'm just talking about like mid-90s, where 179, 188, 190 was a really high total. Now we're seeing routine numbers, 220, 225, 230, and higher. Are these numbers changed for the playoffs as we approach and play the playoffs? Or do they just say, hey, you know what, Teddy? The numbers are the numbers here. Golden State scores X amount. This team scores X amount. This is what the number is. Because I know in our heads when we think about playoff basketball, all right, it's going to be a really tough game. Every possession matters. In the last 3 minutes, they really clamp down. Is that the case when they're setting these numbers for the playoffs?
Well, when it comes to the first, game one of round one, it looks like they used a lot of regular season averages. And obviously, we're talking about regular season averages, and they're going, those are weighted. They're weighted for recent form. They're weighted for performance against superior squads as opposed to the lottery-bound squads. But the bottom line is whatever adjustments were made off of those season-long results, well, they weren't big enough, big adjustments for game one of the playoffs. We've seen the markets adjust somewhat for game two, but we haven't seen any of these series where, game one's lined at 232, and then by game four, we're looking at 212. Haven't seen any of that yet, but we might if these games continue to stay trending under the total the way they did, obviously, over the weekend.
Teddy, we talked on Friday. We say, hey, you know what? Tiger Woods hasn't won a major in over a decade. He's not going to win it. Chris Davis, will he ever get a base hit, Teddy? As soon as Saturday shows up, Chris Davis goes in the hammer and Hank mode and goes 3 for 5 with a couple of RBIs. But just as soon as that streak is broken, Teddy, in 0 for 4 on Sunday, and then right now they're actually playing a Major League Baseball game in the morning in Boston. He's 0 for 1 today. So do we start a new streak, A, with Tiger? And do we start a new streak here with Chris Davis where we could just rerun it all the way back?
Well, if Tiger starts a new streak, there's a lot of money to be made from it. If Chris Davis starts a new streak, I'm not sure how we can bet it unless you say, for the DFS players, don't take Chris Davis today. Take the pitcher going against Chris Davis today. That's certainly a possibility. And look, obviously when you go 0 for 54, it's not like you don't hit anything. He didn't strike out 35 times during that span. There were a number of balls that he tattooed and hit right at somebody. Well, on Saturday, he finally tattooed some balls that weren't right at someone, had a big game. But then there he goes back yesterday. And so far today, would Chris Davis be a mainstay in my starting lineup if I was a manager? Well, I suppose if I was paying him $100-something million, I'd have to get him in the starting lineup. But let's give him credit for breaking the streak, and let's not make too much of it. I don't know how much money we can make off of Chris Davis's failures.
No, certainly not. Just a bad baseball team. Interesting that at the opposing ballpark, Teddy, when he did get the base hit, did give him a nice ovation. Just goes to show you, like, hey, Warriors, you're probably not a threat to us this season. Yep, we'll give you a little bit of a handout here. So interesting times here in the world of sports right here on That Betting Show. Let's get to some overnight line movers, Teddy. SBRodds.com, the best place on the internet to check those odds. They're moving all the time. Check it out through sportsbookreview.com right at SBR Odds. Kershaw back, but the betting public, Teddy, not jumping on it like we used to here. So it's peeling back a little bit. Markets opened as high as minus 180, but now downshifting to minus 155. It's going to be Castillo and Kershaw tonight, Teddy. And look, the Reds, not the greatest start to the season offensively, but they do have a hot pitcher on the mound tonight. So that number moving back, not really surprising to me tonight.
Yeah, and of course, this is all wise guy money. Make no mistake about it. This is not the betting public saying we don't like Clayton Kershaw anymore after Kershaw's been cashing tickets for them for the last 10 years. But there is some respect for Cincy in the marketplace. Obviously, a couple of former Dodgers coming to town, and Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp, two guys that are off to slow starts, but two guys who have hit well in this venue. And of course, you talked about Cincy. Prior to yesterday's loss, they'd won 4 in a row. Manager David Bell, quote, guys have responded. They've stayed ready on certain days that they're not playing, and they're playing well. Cincy's a good, a team that I think has some bet-on potential this year. The Dodgers, they lost 5 in a row before they won yesterday. Markets not excited about LA as a big favorite today. Not surprised, like you, that the money's come on Cincy.
Cardinals Brewers markets opened up at 9, Teddy, shifting to 9.5. The Cardinals played in sunny Mexico over the weekend. Now getting back to some, I should say conference play, but obviously divisional play versus the Brewers minus 135 total at 9.5. Hudson and Peralta on the mound tonight.
Yeah, a lot of concerns about Peralta. You want to talk about 3 starts that have been as dichotomous as it gets. He lasted 3 innings against the Cards in his debut. Got blasted in that game. 4 runs in those 3 innings. He got blasted against the Angels in his last start. Couldn't make it out of the 4th in that game. 7 runs and 8 hits in a bad loss. In between, he faced Cincinnati and threw 8 innings of shutout ball. Gave up only 2 hits during that span. It's worth noting both bad starts. He got lit up right away. First inning, gave up 3 in the first against the Cards, gave up 6 in the first against the Angels. So the market's not really sold on Peralta necessarily right now, shutting St. Louis down by any stretch of the imagination. And then you look at Dakota Hudson, a guy who was a bullpen pitcher last year, didn't give up a run in his first 2 outings this season. He had a 2-out save, then he lasted 4 2/3, shut down the Dodgers in that ball game. But certainly, when we talk about Hudson, this is not a guy that's likely to throw 7 strong. I'm not shocked at all. We've seen over money coming in this game with 2 starting pitchers the markets do not trust.
Clippers and the Warriors, Teddy. We're going to cover this in depth in just a few moments in the next segment, but just some interesting line movements here. Opened up as high as 14.5. I'm actually seeing, Teddy, on SBRodds.com as low as 13 now at some outlets across the board. Interesting, when we were setting the script up this morning, the total was around 230.5, 231, but this one actually skyrocketed. Chris offshore, Teddy, now showing a 234. So those people that said, hey, unders were the way to go, looking for that over today because they're betting it.
Yeah, exactly. And the pace was there. In game one, the 3-point shooting percentages for either squad was not there. The market's expecting some, and Curry was draining threes, but the rest of the Warriors weren't. And the Clips did not have a great shooting game from downtown. Even Louis Williams off the bench wasn't brilliant from beyond the arc, and their starters weren't very good at all. Game one, it was 49% shooting for Golden State to 40% for the Clips. The market's saying, with the money coming on LA and the money coming on the over, say, this time around, we expect the Clippers to be able to push pace with Golden State, maybe to be able to score with them for extended stretches, something they couldn't do in game one.
Watch what you bet here at sportsbookreview.com, right on the betting show. Teddy, wasn't a good day here on Saturday in the lovely city of brotherly love in the Delaware Valley. Game 2 tonight, we're going to take place with the Nets handily beating the Sixers. When you see the final score and you say, 111, 102, maybe they got a late push. This was a Nets game from just, about maybe 2 to 3 minutes left in the first quarter, all the way through the rest of the game. Had that almost as high as, I believe, as 20 points. And that one, Sixers coming back heavy favorite again. -8 total, 226. Moneyline split plus 298, -341. Joel Embiid going to be questionable for this game, hobbled the entire time. Not liking what we see. And in the NBA, look, it's not a must-win game, even though it is game 2. You want to win this game. But taking a look at just what you saw with the Sixers and now being favored by that same amount, boy, it doesn't look too good for the Sixers right now, Teddy.
Well, if the Nets come out and play as well as they did the other night, Philly's in trouble. The question is, of course, whether the Nets are going to be capable of coming out and shooting the way they did. Philly was 3 for 25 from 3-point range in game 1. I would expect them to shoot at least a little bit better from beyond the arc today, potentially much better from beyond the arc. They got booed off the floor. Ben Simmons not happy about that. If you're going to boo, then stay on that side. You stay on the little area where your opponent's fans are in that contest. And of course the on-court / off-court controversy with Amir Johnson looking at his cell phone, captured by the TV cameras looking at his cell phone, and then saying, hey, I was checking an update on my sick daughter. Give me a break. There's something to be said for that. Nonetheless, it is a distraction for Philadelphia. So is Embiid's situation. Embiid's still officially listed as questionable tonight. We expect him to play. Philly expects him to play. The market seem to expect him to play. If he doesn't play, I would think this line would go down in a hurry. The Nets, good road dogs all year. Obviously, you talk about what they did in game 1. D'Angelo Russell having a real strong game. Carlos LeVert coming off the bench and pouring in 23. Spencer Dinwiddie. That trio, Russell, LeVert, Dinwiddie, they gave Philly fits off the dribble all game. They got open looks from 3-point range and they buried them. It's going to be a problem for Philadelphia if they cannot solve it for game 2. Russell, quote, we got the right pieces to keep it going. Kenny Atkinson, Nets head coach, we weren't rattled. You're afraid with this crowd and the team they have and that they're going to knock you out of the box quick. I thought we kind of took a couple of punches from them, took a couple of runs, and still kept our composure. That's big progress for us. Like I said before, earlier in the season, we just wouldn't have had the composure to close a game like that out. You talk about how Philly's going to change their game plan tonight. Here's what Embiid said, quote, I think we've got to be extremely physical. Hopefully I'll feel better and get a couple more of my athletic abilities so I can be down on the block. But that's just got to start. Just be physical, starting with me. Jimmy did a great job attacking. We couldn't back him up Monday, so we've got to do a better job. That physical play has the potential to take the Nets off of their game. Very interesting to see how the refs call this one, if they're letting them play physical, probably advantage Philly.
Yeah, here in Philadelphia, Teddy, Brett Brown is absolutely under siege on Sports Talk Radio. So big night tonight in Philadelphia. We'll certainly watch it. But late night West Coast action. Clippers and the Warriors, minus 13.5, as we just previewed their total of 234. Moneyline split plus 875, minus 1,300. 10:30 tonight live from Oracle Arena out there in Oakland. Clippers are 45-37 against the spread on the season. 16-23, Teddy, against the spread as a dog, and 13-15 against the spread on the road. Golden State, hey, look, we've talked about it all season long right here on That Betting Show. 36-46 against the spread on the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Warriors didn't really, it certainly wasn't their A game. 21 turnovers in a game one against the Clips. Kevin Durant got ejected in that contest, but their defense was excellent throughout. A ton of shots, but they had 14 blocks. They really did a nice job on the perimeter, shutting down the Clips. It was rough for LA, and a lot of it. I mean, there was that one stretch right before halftime where the Warriors went on a big run, and then LA was trailing by double digits throughout following that contest. But at the same time, I mean, it's a Golden State team. 6 straight win in a playoff opener, 20 out of 21, 20-1 their last 21 playoff games at home. Not ATS, but winning them straight up. The one loss coming to the Rockets early in the series last year. We had the fun with Durant and Beverly. That's likely to have more of that tonight. We had some fun with Draymond Green getting going in that contest. We had some fun with Gallinari and Rivers getting technicals. The quote from Rivers stands out to me. Quote, "They deserve to win. We made too many mistakes. We can't lose our composure when we're giving up a free throw rebound because we forget to block out because we're complaining. But we've got to have a fighting chance here. It's just got to be consistency." I've said this before. It's an emotional game. Just like the players can lose their emotion, their composures. Coaches do it all the time. Officials can't. We have to play a little smarter. Clips are capable of playing a little smarter, and the Clips are capable of giving the Warriors a game in this one, better than they did in game one. I'm not surprised at all that we've seen a little bit of money come on the Clips today. If I was going to bet it, I would only look at the underdog plus the points. Golden State off a blowout win. They haven't been stringing too many of those together at any point in 2019.
Yeah, it should be fun to watch Kevin Durant and Patrick Beverly get after it again. But how about this in Philadelphia? 2 aces on the mound, but 2 teams yesterday that had to expend some energy. Not necessarily winning the ball game overall, but Phillies go 14 innings. And then we talked about it last week, Teddy, that little sludginess that you get on a Sunday night game where you then travel on the road and go to another city. Those are going to take place tonight. It's going to be Syndergaard and Nola on the mound. Phillies favored by minus 115, total of 7.5. Also keep in mind in Philadelphia tonight, Teddy, about 50, 55 degrees and 20-mile-an-hour swirling winds. Should be a fun one to watch here. Hey, you got a doubleheader here in Philadelphia that we're going to talk about tonight, Teddy. Sixers right across the street from the Phillies. See what happens.
Yeah, but the games are being played at the same time, so it's not a real doubleheader because you can't go to both. The real doubleheader, you can go to both.
Down there.
Yeah, and so in theory, it's 2 aces here. Nola versus Syndergaard, and yet Nola's got an ERA of 6.5 so far this season, and Syndergaard finally had a streak of dominant outings ending with his last starting. We have 2 bullpens that are a little bit hard to trust. The Phillies bullpen pitched very well in Miami, but they used it all up. 14-inning marathon in that ball game. The Mets bullpen had been decent and then had a rough series in Atlanta. They won the first 2 games, and the back 2 games were nasty, and the bullpen wasn't good, and the lineup didn't get hits, and all of that. So it's a fascinating game. It's not one that I'm even close necessarily to betting on. Nola's owned the Mets. Syndergaard has had a good track record against Philly. I'm not excited about laying a price in this contest. At the same time, do I want under? No, not with the bullpens. Do I want over? No, not with the starters. It's a tough game. It's a fascinating game to consider, but not one that I'm even close to making a wager on.
Yeah, it should be interesting to watch. As I said, doubleheader in Philly. Teddy, off the mic segment. Betting markets converge on golf and big ratings ensue. On Saturday, we saw a 5% increase from tournament over tournament from the last year to this year. And then Sunday, the ratings aren't out yet, but as we were just starting the film here, they did come out in big ratings on Sunday. But the one thing I do want to bring up the point is, Teddy, is again, it's the business we're in. It was a lot of fun. I'm not a golf bettor. Over the past couple of years, even though betting was available to us offshore, most people still had those outlets or maybe a local or whatever you had. They're living in Las Vegas. You could bet some golf, but it wasn't really really mainstream. Yesterday, Teddy, the live coverage that you could watch with whatever sportsbook you work with, same thing in Las Vegas, you have the betting applications. We have that here in New Jersey. Just seeing the numbers with each shot change and how much fun it is, you could just see golf. And it's a good thing that these companies are starting to embrace it. And golf's going to see where they had that little bit of a lull out there. Maybe it can bring NASCAR back, but the advent of gambling in real time, it makes for great theater. I had so much fun doing it yesterday, Teddy.
Sure, and that's the thing with live betting. You know, they call it the crack cocaine of betting because, man, it's fun, it's fast, the pace is right there. It's a ton of fun. And when you do well, you're going to have monster days live betting. But the key with all this stuff, take it with a grain of salt. When you're live betting, you know, you don't want to be using large unit sizes. That's my biggest advice. Make all the bets you want, keep your unit sizes small, and that'll keep you in action, whether you're winning or losing your live betting. But certainly we look at the Masters handle and the coverage on the betting for golf. This is fun, man. It is fun. It's a whole new world out there for sports bettors in 2019.
You know it's going to be more fun, Teddy, when the PGA comes up next month and me and you get on that Thursday and Friday and say, Tiger Woods not going to win this tournament, and he's not going to win again. We'll do it all over again tomorrow on That Betting Show for April 15th, 2019. Once again, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Severansky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, Right Side VP. We'll be back tomorrow. See what happened tonight in the NBA and set you up moving forward. Thanks for tuning in, guys.